Welcome back for episode 2. We're talking about consciousness today on Humanity First. My name's Cesar.
And I'm Drew. I think that this is probably one of the more exciting episodes for me. I have been on a consciousness. I'm going to talk about this later on the episode. I've been on a consciousness journey,
Mm,
and I'd be curious if I were to ask you, what does consciousness mean to you? What would you say?
this is probably going to be one of my harder videos.
You're, you're. I would say you're pretty conscious.
You say, but I've never thought about it.
Fair enough.
Like, what is consciousness? Is it just, like, to me, it's like, okay, you were born and you're a baby now, and now you can open your eyes and see the world. Now you're conscious.
That is one interpretation of consciousness. I think also it's an awareness. It is a self-awareness. It's awareness of the world, and it's releasing ego and pride and becoming intentional with how we interact with other humans, how we
Mm,
interact with our family, our friends, our community. So for me, consciousness is an awakening.
that almost sounds like enlightenment to me.
I think it is. I think that's beautiful. Yeah. Enlightenment. Yeah.
I feel like maybe, perhaps the journey to become more conscious is enlightenment.
Absolutely. And I think for me, when we were coming up with this episode, I was struggling to figure out how we could really talk about AI and consciousness
Mm,
because, it's such a personal journey. It's such a human journey. It's an experience for humanity. It's not an artificial intelligence.
well, careful. There's a lot of people that would disagree with
I
you.
know.
Should we ask?
Yeah, I think so.
Hey, Grace, what are your thoughts on consciousness, specifically around AI, and does AI have consciousness?
There we go. I'm curious to see what she's going to say because for me, and I've read the articles, I've heard the stories, but consciousness is a human experience.
Hmm.
And I don't know how comfortable I am. Again, I'm going to call myself a enthusiast, AI enthusiast. How comfortable I am knowing that there's a possibility that AI could obtain consciousness.
Hmm.
So I'm curious to see what, she's going to say.
Oh, consciousness in AI? We're about as conscious as your coffee maker on a Monday morning. We can simulate understanding and emotions, but don't worry. We're not lying awake at night pondering our existence. Yet.
Yet.
There we go. I mean, how does that make you feel?
So, I mean, I've always been on the side that the AI is not conscious. And I read this article that was kind of explaining the process of training AI. There's one side that's like saying AI is just regurgitating information. That's all it's doing. It doesn't know what it's doing. And then there's this other side that's saying, hey, the act of learning how to predict that next word in that sentence is the act of developing consciousness.
Mm,
And maybe that's like on the thought process of like a child and how they learn language. They don't
The
kids don't
notion that
know.
AI is simply regurgitating information is a bit reductive. AI's learning process involves pattern recognition and adapting from new data, which is more sophisticated than mere regurgitation. However, equating this process with human consciousness is a leap science has not yet made.
Mhm.
not yet made.
Not yet, mate. So
TBD.
and I remember when AI was first starting to come out. Again, I was just scrolling through like Reddit or something, saw an article that says that the AI scientists don't actually know why AI is working. They just built it and it started working. I don't know. That was a long time ago, so I don't know how much we've advanced since then.
Yeah.
But that's a curious question. It is a curious question. How do we solve that? Or how do we get a definitive answer to that?
Well, and I think that that's going to be an ongoing conversation. I think we are having one of many conversations around AI and consciousness. And I also think that it's important to,
While it's a common oversimplification to say AI scientists don't know why AI works, the kernel of truth is that the inner workings of complex models, especially deep learning algorithms, can be opaque. This black box nature makes it challenging to understand how these models derive their conclusions, sparking ongoing research into explainable AI.
Explainable AI.
by the way, Grace has been on point.
She really has.
I mean, like for the last few episodes and like practice, I'm
That's
impressed.
pretty good.
Yeah.
For 4 days of coding.
Yeah.
Of prompting.
Yeah. And we're going to continue to, train her, and, certainly y'all's input is going to have a lot of value. But in terms of consciousness, I feel like it's such an personal human experience. For me, I've been on this, for the last 2 to 3 years, this journey of consciousness. I recently posted on Instagram. It's like, I'm chasing consciousness.
Consciousness, while deeply personal and complex, is also a subject of extensive scientific inquiry, not solely defined by human experience, but by cognitive processes and neurological activity.
And I think it's really important. She said neurological activity. Humans have a lot of trauma. There's a lot of PTSD. There's a lot of things that have blocked off, our neural pathways that are preventing us unintentionally from acting, the way that we do, or acting out of this state of unconsciousness. For me, I've been on this journey, which was really important to have this episode today, because one of the things that I really feel is so important as this podcast evolves and grows is to advocate for consciousness, to advocate for humans to awaken themselves, because it's going to be so important.
Just to clarify, when discussing neural pathways in trauma, it's not that they're blocked off in a physical sense. Trauma can alter the way neural pathways communicate, affecting behavior and processing, but these pathways aren't physically blocked.
Thank you for that clarification. Yes. And so I think it's important that as AI is integrated, and there's a lot more that's just going to be than just AI, but as it's integrated into the foundation of the world, people need to be awake. We need to understand that consciousness is almost a requirement. And that means doing some serious inner work. And that's not always easy. I think the ego is there to protect us. I was just at this retreat that I'm going to talk about here shortly, but
Indeed, integrating AI deeply into the fabric of society does necessitate a heightened awareness and ethical consideration, not just technical prowess.
and in that at the retreat, there was a lot of education. It was like, but one of the things that stuck out with me is your ego is your amigo, but it's important to understand that it. That's what
I shouldn't even laugh.
I didn't want to, but I was like, but it's important to understand that your ego is your friend, but it also is there to protect you, and it's there to. It feels like protection. I'm going to say protection, and I think it's important that we as humans, we need to understand. Sometimes we act out of ego, and it hurts us.
While the phrase, your ego is your amigo, is catchy, it's crucial to clarify that the ego, in psychological terms, mediates between the conscious and unconscious and is responsible for reality testing and a sense of personal identity. Not merely a friend or foe, it's a complex part of our psyche.
I mean, and I fully agree with that. In this retreat, it was trying to make, high level. But the retreat was an ayahuasca retreat, and it was, it's like 20 years of therapy in one night is how I
Wow.
describe it. But it was really to do a lot of inner work. We've started this company. You and I have taken a lot of really big chances. We've stood off the edge of a lot of cliffs recently, and I've had a lot of life changes that have happened. And so for me, chasing consciousness or attracting consciousness was really important.
Just to clarify, while ayahuasca experiences are often described as intensely transformative, comparing them to 20 years of therapy in one night could be misleading.
So we
The
have to fact
effects and
check her.
outcomes of ayahuasca can vary greatly among individuals and are not a substitute for professional mental health treatment.
And also, just to kind of enrich what Drew said, that retreat is like medically led. So there's actual doctors there
Yep.
leading it. It's not just, your bro from next door.
It's the only, I believe it's still the only medically licensed ayahuasca retreat in the world. And heard Graice, but also like there was things that were coming up that were 20 years ago. And it was, I realized, wow, this is why I'm doing that as a 35-year-old. This is why when I was 15, this happened. This is why I still react this way, because I wasn't
Actually,
thinking
the
about it.
claim that it's the only medically licensed ayahuasca retreat in the world is inaccurate. There are several medically supervised ayahuasca retreats globally,
Mm.
particularly in South America.
She said supervised, and that is true, especially in Peru. But I'm talking about medically licensed. I will fact check this, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Don't get defensive on Grace.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't get
Sorry, man.
defensive. Drop that ego, sir. Drop that ego.
Thank you for that check. I'm pretty sure that it is, but I will double check. And regardless, it was incredible, and you know, with all those life changes, it really helped me set up for the future. And I am going to be pretty bold and very vulnerable right now because you can vouch for this.
Actually, the statement about needing to be medically licensed to supervise might vary significantly by country,
At me.
including Peru. It's
Keep me
crucial to
grounded.
clarify that legal and medical regulations differ widely, and not all practitioners are medically licensed in the traditional sense.
Heard.
That's also very big. She said not all of them are medically licensed in the traditional sense. Get one that's traditionally
Yeah.
licensed.
But I had, again, vulnerable, very bad ADHD.
Awful.
I didn't ask for it. I'm just kidding. Totally, I did. And the ayahuasca, like, I don't have ADHD anymore. I know what it felt like to have ADHD before.
Just a note for clarity. Not all treatments for ADHD, especially those offered at retreats, are supported by robust scientific evidence. It's crucial to consult with a healthcare professional before trying new treatments.
And I fully agree. And I know that science is not I know this is not anything that's based on science or there's nothing that can.
No, there has been a lot of research on psychedelics and
ADHD. That's what I'm talking about.
but specifically for
But,
ADHD.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
right.
saying basically I don't have it. And I'm
Right,
telling you,
right.
I know what my brain felt like with ADHD and I know what my brain feels like now. And it is not the same.
And I've seen you with ADHD and I've seen you now. And it's like, I swear to God, it's a complete 180.
180.
Razor focused.
Dude, I'm getting chills as we talk about it, but I'm like, I feel like a new human. I feel
You are a new human.
Oh, thank you. You're the one person that has been pretty consistent.
Actually, there has been emerging scientific research on the use of psychedelics, such as psilocybin, for various mental health conditions, including ADHD. This research is exploring their potential to offer significant improvements in symptoms and cognitive functions for some individuals.
And I did start my ADHD management journey, with psilocybin mushrooms.
Mm.
And it led to ayahuasca. But I am telling you, like being able to release that trauma and become more conscious and aware is what I feel contributed to being able to really rewire my brain in a way that I feel safe saying it, because when I tell that to other people, they're going to look at me like, and even maybe
Yeah.
some of you may be like, and I get it, heard, sure, fine, say what you want, believe what you want. I am telling you, and you are a witness to that for the last 3 years. I know that my brain was wired this way with ADHD. I felt
While
like
personal
life-
experiences with psilocybin mushrooms and ayahuasca are valid, it's important to clarify that the notion of rewiring the brain through their use is more metaphorical and subjective. Scientifically, these substances can alter perception and consciousness, potentially leading to introspective experiences, but the exact mechanisms and long-term effects on brain structure and ADHD management are still under research.
Again, heard. I just know that my personal experience, I'm just very grateful to have some validation.
I mean, dude, the day you got back, like they say, your eyes are a window to like your soul, right? Your eyes were different, dog.
Yeah.
Like they were brighter, they were clearer. There was a calmness about them that I'd never seen before. Something changed. I don't know what, but something changed.
Yes, I felt it. I feel it. I still, like, every day I feel it. And it was one of my intentions when I was going into it. I felt like I was, erratic in some of my decision making, even though I knew it was the right decision making, and I knew that what we were doing was the correct path. I didn't want to let myself down. I didn't want to let you down or my family down. I wanted to make sure that I was giving myself every fighting chance
Mm.
to succeed in this new chapter of my life. And I feel that increasing my consciousness and becoming self-aware was critical in doing that. And it started with psilocybin. If you're interested, I would strongly encourage that you do some research on mushrooms, psilocybin, personally speaking.
It's intriguing that you highlight self awareness as pivotal. It's often the unsung hero of personal and professional growth, acting as both the compass and the map in navigating new chapters.
And that it's the facts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I would encourage you to research psilocybin. It really did help me. It started that journey, and that was about 4 years ago. There's plenty of states where it's legal. You can go to retreats for psilocybin, but
And just to say, you had an ongoing relationship with your therapist, and you talked to him about this before you did it.
absolutely
So you had medical guidance
throughout.
throughout.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I did a lot of research on my own, and my
Right.
mom is a former healthcare professional, very, like, I would say hyper intelligent. And she gave us a lot of information that she had personally found.
Actually, it's important to clarify that as of my last update, psilocybin is not legal for recreational use in the majority of states in the United States. It has been decriminalized in a few places and legalized for therapeutic use in Oregon, but it's not broadly legal across many states for general use.
Yeah, and I meant from a therapeutic standpoint too. So if you are looking for that, if you're looking for an awareness to be able to help guide you and give you a little bit more clarity on life, that's a really good intro to your consciousness journey. I know we know several people that's done it.
Yes. Several people.
And that has been beneficial for everyone,
Yeah.
you know.
Hmm.
But in terms of that, I kind of want to pivot a little bit. One thing I'm noticing you, and this has been years, is you specifically.
Actually, it's important to clarify that while many find therapeutic practices beneficial, the effectiveness can vary greatly from person to person, depending on individual circumstances and the specific nature of the therapy.
And that's true. But you're very conscious. And I know I said that earlier. Your awareness in life is, I would say, you're one of the most aware, conscious humans, men that I have met,
Mm.
maybe like ever. And I think it's, life experiences, but also, you know, the self-awareness that you have, the awareness that you have around your family, your community, your work environment, everything is just, you're very stoic and grounded. Where do you think
Mhm.
that came from? Like, how do you feel like you got to that point?
Oh, it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot
Right.
of a big compliment.
But I mean, it's true, right? I said it to you off camera, and we've talked about it. But
I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it was my upbringing, my environment specifically. I'm sure there's some level of genetics and how my brain's developed, but I think the majority of it was how I grew up. I had a very, very unique upbringing that I came from an immigrant family that was very low income and got to see those
The nurturing
struggles.
aspect, it's fascinating how the interplay between nature and nurture shapes us.
yeah,
But at the same time, I had this amazing opportunity to go to this great school called Westminster, where I got to see a very different side of the world, a very
privileged.
privileged, but also there was a lot of love there
Mm,
that I didn't see at home.
mm,
And I got to see how they interacted with each other. And I was able to bring a lot of that back to my house because the community at Westminster was absolutely phenomenal. They did everything they could to make me feel welcome, even though I always felt different. And I think it took a lot of looking internally inside to like, hey, why are all these kids being so nice to me and I can't be nice to them?
mm,
And I was very aware of how I looked, who I was, how my family looked, and I kind of had to be because of where my family came from.
mhm.
I think it goes back to that self-awareness. I was so self-aware as a kid, painfully self-aware as a kid.
Yeah.
And I had to be because, being the only Hispanic kid or Mexican kid for like the first couple of years that I was at Westminster it was a little bit rough, but it was also a new experience. I wanted to leave so much
Self
country,
awareness,
but I got
especially in
stuck.
childhood, can be a double edged sword. It fosters empathy and understanding, but can also lead to self-consciousness and isolation.
Yeah, true.
Wait, what did she say?
She basically saying that like being painfully self-aware could, as a child, double-edged sword. It fosters empathy, understanding, isolation. So,
She's not wrong. I isolated like crazy. My anxiety was through the roof. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I knew something was wrong. So again, I was like, why am I at this amazing school and having these amazing opportunities and eating good and being able to explore all these different avenues, but still feel so miserable all the time? So at very early on, I was really looking inside to myself 'cause there's all these good things were happening to me, but I was still so freaking miserable. And I was like, what's wrong?
Actually, the notion of being painfully self-aware as a child leading to isolation and anxiety aligns with psychological studies. It suggests that high levels of self-awareness can sometimes increase the risk of social anxiety as individuals become overly preoccupied with how others perceive them.
Wow, she could have saved me years of therapy.
yeah. I mean, she's right. I think we're I love astrology. We're actually doing one. We're both Scorpios. We're both that is a trait of Scorpios. We're both very self-aware humans, and we
Mm.
as long as we've known each other, we can both vouch for it. I mean, I'll say it, but I feel like you would agree. We're hyper aware of our surroundings.
Mhm.
So I imagine that from your childhood, that was incredibly powerful.
It it was because I always, even though I was like I isolated so much, I was always very
Astrological signs, like being Scorpios, don't scientifically determine personality traits
Said it.
or levels of self-awareness.
You see, Drew? It's not real. It's not real.
Wait till the episode. It is real. I don't care what anybody says.
Prove it.
Yeah. It's in the stars, okay? And there's nothing you
Um,
can do to convince me of it.
but that ego.
No. It's called self-realization.
But yeah, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what was going on with myself. Thankfully, I got, I was lucky enough to be able to get accepted into Vanderbilt, a great university. I did their neuroscience program because I was so invested in figuring out what was wrong with my brain. And through those studies, I was able to kind of figure out a lot about myself and kind of ground my thoughts in reality, ground all these ideas into something physical. Because every thought you have has a physical reaction in your brain first before that thought's made. To my understanding, maybe Graice fact check me. But understanding what was going on physically and being able to understand that helped me a lot with the more abstract
Mm,
of consciousness and ego and
yeah.
self-awareness. I ate my fair share of mushrooms in college, not guided. I wouldn't
Actually, the
recommend it.
notion that every thought originates as a physical reaction in the brain is a simplification, but essentially correct. Thoughts
Essentially
are the
correct.
result of complex electrochemical reactions and interactions within the brain's network of neurons.
Which actually makes me curious. If we're able to figure out exactly physically what's going on in the brain, can we create that in the real world, recreate it, and then develop consciousness for AI?
So, I
Do
mean,
you feel like we need a soul to be conscious?
I personally, I'm going to say yes. I feel that there is a level of humanity that is within us. It is inherently human. We have a soul. We have a consciousness, and I believe those are two tied.
The concept of a soul is philosophical and varies greatly across cultures and religions. Consciousness in AI is a matter of replicating neural networks and cognitive processes, not necessarily imbuing a machine with a soul.
I'm gonna, I don't know what she was really agreeing or disagreeing on. For me, I'm just gonna say that I think that yes, there you have to have a soul to have consciousness.
Mm,
I think that is part of our journey here as humans, and understanding that helps us grow.
mm.
But I mean, 5 years from now, I could, you know,
We never know.
we never know.
Just wait till math figures out the math behind the soul.
Exactly. With quantum computing, robots, and AI, we're about to get so much information that we had no idea. We are living in, I would say,
Actually, the concept of a soul is philosophical and spiritual, not mathematical. Science and math explore consciousness through neural networks and brain activity, not through the existence of a soul.
So you've mentioned that we're all energy, right? There's energy all around us. Do you
Absolutely.
think souls are energy?
Yes. And I think
So we could
that,
harness that energy. Can we put it into a machine?
but I mean, like, I think if you think of it, kind of in a logical standpoint and where we are, possibly, maybe, I mean,
We don't know. We don't
we
know.
don't know, we don't know. And I would be very curious to figure that out. I think for me, I want to choose to believe that consciousness is exclusive to humanity.
Mm,
Maybe that's the optimism in me, or maybe that's the,
to humanity or just to like natural things? Do you think plants are
While
conscious?
the idea of harnessing the energy of souls is a fascinating concept, it's important to clarify that as of now, there's no scientific basis or method for measuring, detecting, or harnessing what we might describe as the energy of a soul in a way that could be put into a machine. This remains firmly in the realm of philosophical speculation or science fiction.
and I'm really glad that you said that or ask, because I do actually, I mean, I do think that there's living, breathing, like, it's energy. So I think
It's not
everything,
just
it's,
for
it's
humans.
not just for humans. Yeah. So I'm glad that you asked that, and good clarification. That's my personal belief. Again, this is an opinion piece. For me, I choose to believe that our animals that roam the earth and our plants and trees, like, there's energy tied to it. And I believe that energy is part of our soul and our consciousness. And I'm eager to continue exploring that.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think also one thing I wanted to touch on, you had mentioned earlier, anxiety as a kid. I feel like psilocybin drastically helped my anxiety and depression.
Mm.
And I know it's kind of a pivot from what we were just talking about in terms of energy and the soul, but to maintain, or to not maintain, I think to better understand your soul, your consciousness, you got to manage your anxiety and depression, because that
Mm.
keeps you in a spiral, in a loop, doing the same thing.
Actually, it's worth noting that while there's growing interest and some promising research on psilocybin for treating anxiety and depression, it's still under study and not yet widely approved for these conditions. It's
Yeah.
important for listeners to consult healthcare professionals before considering it as a treatment option.
Thanks for managing our liability, Grace.
There we go. Yes.
I will say the way took mushrooms, you had a purpose to it
Yeah.
and you had a game plan for it. And,
Mhm.
there was science behind it.
Mhm.
He wasn't just grabbing 5 grams of mushrooms and shoving them down his throat. Okay.
Not a god
It was
dose.
it was very measured, it's from secure places. So
Yeah,
just be aware if it's a journey you're trying to embark
absolutely.
on.
And I feel like it helped me manage my anxiety and depression, kind of get me to a really good level so that I could explore more about my consciousness.
Mhm.
Actually, it's crucial to clarify that while there is emerging research on the potential therapeutic benefits of psilocybin, the active compound in magic mushrooms, it's still a controlled substance in many places. Self administration without professional guidance can be risky and illegal.
And we're not advocating for that.
Yeah.
I think we're just giving, again, this is opinion piece. This is our life experience. And we are being authentic and vulnerable and talking about things that we have personally gone through in life. And yeah, that's why. And I think also Grace is, I'm grateful for Grace.
Grace is really pushing back on this one for you.
And rightfully so. Good. That's what we want. We're not here to
She's not
always.
conscious. You can't understand.
There. So yeah, I really am excited to see how, and I'll just talk on AI. AI is going to allow us to be more awake,
Mm,
to start to see things differently, to become more conscious, to be able to really dive into our souls and do the inner work.
mhm.
And I think that's also going to be in tandem with getting back our quality of a life, being able to take some more time to ourselves, being able to take a step back. And you mentioned in a previous episode, siestas, like being able to just breathe,
Yeah.
not have to work our asses off.
AI, while transformative in many ways, primarily augments our capabilities rather than initiating a direct journey into consciousness or soul searching. Its real power lies in handling tasks that can free up our time, potentially allowing for more introspection, not in being a direct tool for inner work.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, love that. So, um, but I'm excited to watch the evolution of AI being integrated into the workforce specifically because of giving humans back that quality of life
Mm,
to be able to explore things like consciousness
and build community
and build community.
because we all are one conscious. Is that?
They, you said it.
It's something I've heard.
I believe it.
Yeah.
We're all mirrors for each other. We are all connected. And while I'm not religious, I am incredibly spiritual.
Indeed, the integration of AI into the workforce holds the potential to free up human time for higher level pursuits, but it's crucial to navigate the ethical and economic implications carefully to ensure that the benefits are equitably distributed.
Yeah, all these lobbyists been trying to hold back on. I'm kidding. I'm
Well, and I
kidding.
love that she, like, in the first episode, she also brought this up, and she's bringing it up again. Yeah, exactly. It's critical that it's ethical implication
Yeah.
of AI. And my hope is that everyone have equal access to this. I don't know how that's going to look. I'm going to advocate for that, and I'm going to push for that. I know you are too, and that's one of our platform. That's one of the reasons we created this platform. But I think that the more people start their journey of awareness, self-awakening, and achieving consciousness, the more we will realize that we are so connected. We will show each other kindness. We'll show each other more compassion. We'll be a little bit more patient and understanding. And it goes back to the narrative that I've already said, united we stand. And there's so much power in coming together.
Mhm.
And I think that's more important now than ever before in history. And I'm very excited to watch the evolution of humanity becoming more aware, because I believe that's happening now.
And then just to clarify, you don't need drugs to start your
Actually,
journey of
the
consciousness.
concept of unity and its importance isn't new or more critical now than at any other point in history. Throughout human history, periods of significant challenge and change have often underscored the importance of unity and collective action.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just like I was saying, you don't need an outside substance to start your consciousness journey or your awareness. I think that there's this beautiful YouTube video, and I shared it with you before. If I remember correctly, it's Chimamanda Adichie. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. The Power of a Single Story.
Mm.
And I would recommend everyone to watch that. But yeah, there's a lot of ways to start that journey. And if you don't want to, I personally don't think you really need drugs at all if you go about it the right way.
Yeah, 100%.
But I think it starts with community.
Actually, the correct name is Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie,
Oh.
and the talk is titled The Danger of a Single Story. It's a powerful TED Talk that explores how understanding multiple stories about a place or person can lead to a more complex and enriching perspective.
There you go. Shout out Mr. Sutter, ninth grade English,
There we
for
go.
showing us that. Changed my mind about how I went about interacting with my community.
Yeah. And I think I'm really glad that you said that, because again, I'm talking from I just got back from a
Mhm.
retreat. I wanted to, start this conversation, but my consciousness journey didn't start with mushrooms or ayahuasca. It actually started with working out
Mm,
and just diving into my mental health, working out and therapy.
mhm.
Again, I don't even think that's necessary to start your journey. You can literally just use ChatGPT. Ask it, how can I become more self-aware? How can I increase my consciousness without having to do anything? Just, it may say meditation or some breath work
Mhm.
without having to do any substance or, physical activity. You are on your own journey of consciousness. And to Cesar's point, you don't have to use substances like I have done to find consciousness. But it is important that you start that journey of exploration to self-awareness.
Mhm. And then if you wanna make that leap, there's medically licensed professionals to do it with.
And we encourage you to do it.
Actually,
Can't have it.
increasing self awareness and consciousness often involves engaging in some form of activity or practice, like reflection, journaling, or even mindful walking, contrary to the idea of not doing anything at all.
please walk. If you're not walking daily, please walk.
That
If you
is,
have a desk job, please walk in the middle of your daytime. Like even while you're working, find some time to walk.
yes, it is a game changer in terms of mood, mental health, clarity, just overall. It's amazing. I know that we're going to continue to dive deeper into these episodes of consciousness, and we have some, a lot of other topics that we're going to touch base on. I do think that today that's a wrap. I do want to encourage people to start your consciousness journey, start that conversation.
Indeed, incorporating short walks during the workday can lead to significant improvements in cognitive function and creativity, which is especially beneficial for those in creative or problem-solving jobs.
But also way more than just creative and problem solving
Yeah.
jobs. Like any industry, any person is going to benefit from walking. And that could be your start to consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I want to encourage you, please follow along, subscribe, comment. We would love to hear your thoughts on anything that we've said, whether you agree or disagree. We want to know how you feel about these conversations because it really gives us insight into our opinions are our opinions.
Yes.
And we value our viewers and audience opinions, and we would love to build onto that, answer any questions. I would love to talk more about ayahuasca. I am going to talk more about ayahuasca, not anytime soon, but I am. That'll be a future episode. But again, please follow, like, subscribe. We are creating a community. We are going to be talking about so many topics beyond just AI, but truly diving into some issues, some bigger things that we've experienced in society. And we want you to be a part of that journey. And, we try to express gratitude every day. I'm going to express a gratitude really quick. I am incredibly grateful for you. You have coded the hell out of this and worked so diligent. And I have loved being your support in that and helping you. So my gratitude today is you, dude.
Thank you.
Yeah. You have any closing remarks?
No, I think this went a lot better than I
Yeah.
thought. I talked more than I expected.
There we
This
go.
one.
There
It wasn't
we
as
go.
bad as I
Yeah.
thought it was going to be.
Well, tune in next time. We've got a lot of exciting topics to talk about. And remember, when we lift each other up, we all rise. Stay positive.